Yeah, don't watch CNBC, man. That stuff's poison. Poison for your brain. It will literally make you a worse investor. Yeah, any financial TV is poison. Don't watch it. They mostly hire good-looking women to get you to watch. I mean, that's a big chunk of it. Notice there's never an ugly fat bald guy on CNBC. Goodell TV is coming. Where do I get financial news? Newswires, press releases. Yeah, that's why, I mean, look, I like Cramer.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Well, Bill Poole is a shame. He's shameful.
Hold on. I know
You
you
gotta go and read the accredited home doc.
That's when Aaron decided to go to CNBC. He would be way worse at work. Way worse. Yeah, you didn't want to be around Cramer some days, man. He was scary. Especially if he was losing money. But even if he was making money, sometimes he'd be like that. Oh yeah, Cramer was definitely ready to do WWE. Yeah, exactly. Rigetti is showing great relative strength. I'm worried they got the DARPA contract. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But nobody's announced a DARPA contract yet. Are you kidding me? 1% a day? Who wouldn't be content making 1% a day? That's 400% a year. You're not holding a bag, Nicole. Stop talking like that. What does that mean, you're holding a bag? You mean you're long? It's called being long. That's it. You're long some penny stock. Great. The market down 4%. A biotech stock's going to suffer. I've traded the zloty. Yeah, I've traded the zloty. I think you use options when they're useful. So if you need defined risk, if you need if vol is cheap or if vol's expensive and you want to sell it, Yeah, that's typical, Ryan. I mean, Pharma is very defensive as our consumer products. Make sure you use our new function on Godel HMS. Just go to godelterminal.com and compare your favorite stocks. Lilly, Novo Nordisk. This is a 1-year chart. Look how much outperformance there was here. Bristol Myers also outperforming, say, Regeneron, which has been a dog. How's Glaxo been? Glaxo's sort of in the middle. What else? How about Sarepta? Sarepta's had it rough, right? Sarepta's had it real rough, which is why we like it. How about Vertex? What's Vertex been up to? It's nice to be able to look at these and see how all those companies have done over the course of time. Now, HIMSS, I'd compare HIMSS to like other, like Oklo. Look at him. Wow, look at this. HIMSS and Oklo. This correlation coefficient has to have, and we'll calculate that for you soon, but that R squared is just, look how tight that is. HIMSS and Oklo. One is a pharmacy, one is a nuclear physics company. HMS is historical multiple securities. HMS, okay? No, it's not spurious. Here's Palantir, which is pretty close too. This is called momentum. How about IonQ? Not HMS Pinafore. See, when people buy these stocks and they think they're buying something, but all they're doing is buying momentum. That is the funniest thing to me. They think they're making some alpha call. You're making a factor call. That factor is called momentum. What else is a momentum stock? I got HIMSS, Palantir, Oklo. Robinhood. Robinhood almost exactly superimposable on HIMSS and Oklo. Alpha is when you have a pure outperformance. Okay, let's look at Appian. AppLovin, I mean. Yeah, AppLovin, more or less superimposable. These are all the same chart, give or take. Tempest is underperformed. Tesla has had kind of lousy momentum. Tesla's kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, listen, the quant's job is to analyze this stuff all day. Now let's remove a couple of these and see how crazy this is, right? Like this is such a crazy correlation. Now there's a little alpha here, but some of this stuff is explainable by other factors. So this is sometimes called Pharma French. Every single person in finance should know what Pharma French is and know Eugene Fama's work. These are 5 stocks: Carvana, Robinhood, Palantir, Oklo, and HIMSS. You've got a retail pharmacy, a nuclear power plant company, a government SaaS software provider, a retail brokerage, and a online used car a marketplace. No, there's no causation. Nobody's saying there is. This is very simple factor investing. I saw the news. DARPA gave out the participation trophies. DARPA is Advanced Research Projects. It's a Department of Defense thing. For a long time, they've funded really advanced technologies. Like, the funniest thing about cassava is no matter what we said to people that own cassava, it did not matter. They would not sell. And for some of them, I convinced them that the drug wasn't going to work. And they're just like, I just can't do it. Just can't sell, which was just sad because it was like, no, there's like a mental block where I need to be proven. If it'd be worse if I sold it and it went up, I would feel worse than actually losing the money, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah, just got to get burned a couple times. You know, for biotech, like I have such an experience in it. So like in biotech, like that's always funny to me because like there's just nobody can really compete with me. Like there's never people, I've never met like some retail guy that's like a better biotech expert than me. Like I was actually a CEO in the industry and, you know, I know a lot about that industry. So whenever baggies talk to me about that industry, they're just like, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And it's like, okay. But for quantum, nobody is really an expert in quantum in terms of the industry, so to speak. You know, it's a brand new industry. And being an expert in quantum mechanics and quantum physics is not easy, regardless. Yeah, even if you have people at the FDA, I'm not sure that's true. There's a funny story about that I have from years ago. There's a FDA insider trader that got like, 11 trades right in a row. But FDA is a really small part of what the FDA does, is a really small part of the pharma industry. I think D-Wave will be at 1 or less. And the same thing for QCI. I think IonQ is like, yeah, I mean, I guess I can look at the numbers, but IonQ will go to 2 or 3 or something like that. Costco is affected by tariffs, but tariffs are not the problem here. I actually think the stuff Trump's doing is probably going to be net positive. It's really just we're in a market regime where it's been up only and there's been no acknowledgement of any risks whatsoever. And, you got to pay the piper someday. You kick the can down the road eventually. You got to pay up. And now the market's, we got to, cash in that check or whatever idiom you want to use. Yeah, I do think it's probably going to be a long-term positive, and there's going to be a bit of a rebalanced system. And this is probably the way to do it if you're going to do it. It's not going to really matter that much, at the end of the day. But it is something that kind of makes sense, and we'll see how it goes. It could be a small negative, it could be a small positive, but Joey, I don't disagree that certainly the textbook expectation for free trade is that tariffs are bad, but I also think that's in a bilateral sense. There's a game theoretical concept where if you have a unilateral tariff system, it is taking advantage. So you restore it with a bilateral tariff system, and tariffs are bad for everyone. So you can either have side A re-tariff side B, or side B removes their tariffs. So you have to tell that to the people that initiated tariffs in the first place. Oh, Isaac, yeah, I'm about to experience that too. He says it's impossible to actively trade when a toddler's running around. Well, you and I probably trade differently too. So, I mean, I don't like trading, to be honest. Our son is going to be the greatest computer programmer who ever lived. Listen, if he wants to be a computer programmer, that's fine. If he wants to be an investor, that's fine too. If he wants to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, that's fine. It's up to him what to be. No pressure. Be CEO, I can accept that. It's not great. It's not perfect, but if he wants to be a doctor, well, we're going to have a talking to, if he wants to be a lawyer, he's not my son. Small loan of $1 million. I think, listen, I mean, capital finds you. I mean, that's the funniest thing. So people think like access to capital is so important. It is not. It's not hard to find capital. You have talent, capital will find you. Doesn't matter if it's your family or not, Trust me, the family members are not stupid. Sometimes they're the most vicious. Mathematician is a good one. I like that. It's the height of cerebral activity, in my opinion, but it's a lonely road. I'm just starting to research biotech investing, and clinical trials are very volatile. Why not have a straddle? Well, there's no free lunch in the markets, so straddles would be priced to the point of perfection because other people are thinking the exact same thing. If they get priced too high, people will actually short straddles. If you have the chance to get a straddle, usually you have to ask at a reasonable price. You have to ask yourself if there's some risk that the clinical trial event won't happen, or that you're misunderstanding it. Now, every now and then the market's wrong, right? All right, so look at Apple's free cash flow here. You got from 2016, it grew from 53 billion to 108 billion, and so free cash flow has grown sort of 9% a year, dropped around 8 or 5% a year. So what would you pay for something that's growing free cash flow 5% a year? Exactly, Stockfish. To me, it's hard to pay too much. Apple is probably it's probably not overvalued, but yeah, exactly. You get 20x 5 years from now. Well, the enterprise value, they have a little cash. So the enterprise value is 3.03 billion. It's funny because you have APIs. We spend over $1 million a year in APIs. So the problem is, okay, you have international stocks. You have stocks that have different formats for income statements. Like bank, what do you do about bank stocks? There's no revenue for bank stocks. Will some genius find a way around it? We'll see. It's pretty rough. I've been working on agents to do this kind of work for a long time. It works for certain kinds of companies that are really clean, it works. But the second there's an edge case, it's over. And finance is just millions of edge cases. I've gotten a little bit into poker, enough to lose money and not want to play again. Sometimes you have to make a judgment call. Are you including a one-time item or not? And you have to make the choice. I do think ChatGPT will replace traders. Yeah, I said it and I meant it. Yeah, I'm not like I used to be in Excel in the old days. 2000, 2001, I used to read the Excel manual. I used to have like every resource. I used to read the help section for every single function. I used to know them all. They gave out awards to 15 companies, so it definitely wasn't a special thing. I think they're just going to race each computer against each other and go with the one that's fastest. I love when I see these computers. I'm like the way people look at cars. Okay, they look at a Porsche and they say, "Wow, look at this Porsche! It's got a V8, this and that, and this." I'm the same way with computers. So for me, I look at these quantum computers and think, this is cool stuff. I want to try them. I want to see what this puppy can do. 0 to 60 in how many seconds? But they don't really do anything, and I'm willing to wait and see how it all goes. But it's also so IVVD really spent. I would be furious. I mean, I am furious actually. How if they spent $37 million in a quarter? Must have been manufacturing, right? I mean, houseway. I might have to call these guys up. Hey, yo, homie, where did my money at? That's shareholder money. Some of these numbers just don't make any sense. What is this? R&D 58 million? Yeah, Josh, it's just annoying. Like, I'd also like to see prescription trends for this bad boy. Citadel is down a little bit. That is true. Pretty strange, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. Look at the operating income's loss dropped dramatically. So you can read the 10K and figure out where it went through cash flow. The rare biotech forensic accounting analysis. So inventory, that's the thing where why wouldn't inventory go up? They just paid payables. That's all they did. They lost 20 million operating and they paid another 20 million of payables down. I mean, I would have preferred to have some more cash because that was the margin of safety here. I mean, if they don't start selling out of this COVID treatment, then the crazy thing is COVID is a lot more. No, I mean, look, yes, the working capital changed. They paid off accounts payable and accrued liabilities, which they probably did do a manufacturing run or paid Lonza or whoever a bunch of money, and they increased the prepaid assets. So, I just continues to target near-term profitability, anticipated growth of net product revenue, and continued reduction of manufacturing expenses. Okay, so there's a bunch of COVID variants circulating in the US. They're investing in this other antibody, VID2311. So instead of IV, this would be intramuscular, I guess. Newly transitioned in-house sales force. Cancer patients. Hospitalizations and deaths from COVID currently greater than flu and RSV combined. But will that change? So we got these strains of COVID, SARS-CoV-2, Oh, that was bad news. In Feb 2025, the FDA declined Invivyd's request to expand the EUA for PEMGARDA to include treatment in immunocompromised patients. I guess they have to do a trial. Wow, I guess consensus is 176 million. I don't see how they... So it tends to peak in January. So I'm worried that they might have... They're saying they're going to be profitable, but what happens... I guess there's a second peak in the summer. It looks like January. I mean, it depends on this. Well, these are antibodies. These aren't vaccines. So that's a nice alternative, you know. If you got somebody who's afraid of the vaccine, you give them an antibody. Still 200,000 people being hospitalized for a year, hospitalized for COVID. That's still an enormous amount. They said they'll be profitable by Q2. So the question is, do you believe them? It's $6,600 for... I mean, it's worth buying this stock. Just a chance that they are going to do what they say they're going to do. I mean, one other way to look at it is through Gilead, right? I mean, Gilead's still selling a ton of them. Garbage drug. Nobody's selling vaccine anymore, but they're still selling Veklury. 1.8 billion of Veklury. And I just try to figure out what I think is going to happen to a company. Look, 1% position size. That's how you start until you get a little profits in your account. Then you can go to a little bit extra. Oh, Pfizer has their own PD-1? Sasanlimab? Because they had there it is, Sasanlimab subcutaneous. They had the Bavencio. I don't know, DLAO, it depends on the future of COVID. I mean, if COVID's going to be here for the next 10 years, it could be $1 billion company. I don't say that lightly. I don't know about that, David, because you have to take into context, those are big companies. Yeah, I think you don't understand that COVID's still a pretty big problem. Because look at Gilead. They're still selling $2 billion of remdesivir. It doesn't even work. Yeah, it's okay if nobody talks about it. Revenue is revenue. You know, remdesivir, I actually tried to get remdesivir while I was in prison. I tried to go to Emory to buy it. Yeah, of course, Gilead. I've been following Gilead 20 years. Well, let me focus on Pfizer first, okay, guys? Let's stick to Pfizer. 4% for SPYs right now. I'm not sure Novo Nordisk is a buy. I think the PE is lower than 20. Okay, Bank of America's down 10%. Jesus Christ. SoFi's down 12%. Apple's down 9%. Amazon's down 8%. Palantir's only down 3%. AT&T's up. I wouldn't say I'm underestimating it or overestimating it. I'm not a macro guy. I try to follow my stocks, the companies that I'm interested in, that I'm involved in. And I take each company in isolation. Wow. So Pfizer gave back the rights to Sangamo's drug. Pfizer's not too bad. Oh, wait a second. Forgot one little thing. Forgot about costs. They do have costs. Yeah, I think Pfizer's in trouble. Oh, they got another COVID drug coming to replace Paxlovid. The failure of the Arvinas drug doesn't help. Looks like they have an ADC coming. A couple ADCs possibly coming. That's good. I mean, the Seattle deal is probably not that bad. Yeah, it's just poorly managed. I think you cut your losses when your thesis has changed. I mean, that's a big deal to me, at least. PD-L1 ADC. How about that? C. difficile vaccine, Lyme disease vaccine will be okay, actually. They are doing an influenza vaccine. That must be with Moderna. They dropped RSV drugs. Yeah, pipeline is not great. So I think Pfizer's a kind of fairly valued / slightly overvalued. SPY down 4.25%. I'm not bullish or bearish on sectors. And no, tariffs don't make me hesitant. Summit's like a very weird situation. They either have the biggest drug of all time or they don't. And we just don't know. Intel did a deal with Taiwan Semi or is doing a deal with Taiwan Semi. Might as well hold on as a good strat. SPY down 4.35%. Really bad here. I don't know if you buy more Amex or not. I mean, make sure you have a balanced portfolio with some shorts too. I mean, the market's going to collapse. You better at least have some cash or some shorts. You know, bear market's just starting. It could be 2 years of this type of stuff. Yeah, Lynn is probably seen as defensive, but yeah, it's still overvalued. No, I think Bitcoin is not a reliable investment. Yeah, I'm a little more bearish on Bitcoin because of MicroStrategy and even Trump's involvement and interest in it. I don't think it helps. I don't think it's the beginning of the end for Nvidia. I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, maybe you call it the peak, but I'm going to call it the end. That's pretty ominous. We gave a lot of different AI things a try. I think probably the winners in that space are going to be the OpenAIs and other really big companies. I don't know that the little guy can compete necessarily, because the tool is so general that it's a little bit hard to really apply it well. So whatever a wrapper can do, the underlying tool can do too. Maybe Deuce, maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm long Nvidia. I bought some today. You must have not been here earlier. I don't have much to say on Intel. I mean, I don't know that the American's Foundry is going to help that much. It's a $30,000 portfolio assignment. The viewers voted for the amount. Yeah, I generally am doing 1% positions until I have a 1 or 2% gain, and then maybe a 5% gain. I'll kind of start picking it up a bit. No position in Tesla. If I had to have a position in Tesla, and I hate to say this because I do like Elon a lot, I'd be short. In the long run, I'd probably be long, but in the short run, I do think they're going to have a lot of challenges. I'm mostly in cash. Yeah, I'm not going to use leverage until I have some gains to fall back on. You don't want to start off with losses. Yeah, the long-term Tesla will be fine. But in the near term, if we do have a recession, car sales struggle in recessions, and tariffs probably help Tesla a bit. But huge loss today. One of the biggest one-day losses probably in a long time, if not in history. I don't think you should enter the market if you don't know the markets. Well, I mean, this 5% is a very large drop in the market. It's probably in the top 20 one-day losses ever. I think that if you just start an account, you open an account, do you really think it makes sense to fill it with 100 positions on day one? Or do you think it makes sense to take your time? My goal is to grow this account 30% this year, and possibly stretch goal of 100%. You don't do that in one day, 30% to 100%. I mean, I have 30% in the bag. I don't know if I can do 100%, but I'll show you how to do 30% without taking crazy risks. And not only that, but you're wrong. I mean, if you can make 30% a year, I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter how much money you start with. You're gonna make it in the long run.